What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Crown Performance. As always, Coach Kyle right here. Coach Graham behind the camera. Cool. That's his thumb.
That's my other thumb.
That's your left thumb.
Yep.
Cool. Whoa, whoa.
Slow down, right?
Yeah, dude.
All right.
It's like you're taking steroids or something.
Shh. I take all of them.
You're as old as your spine, part 2. We're going to be dealing with your thoracic spine, or this portion of your spine that goes from about here to here, okay? This is the portion of your spine that has the most mobility, or should have the most mobility and ranges of motion. So again, I'm going to go through very similar motions with my thoracic spine as I did my cervical spine in part 1. I'll leave a link below if you haven't seen the cervical spine video to go through that one first and then come into this one. So, first I'm going to cover some flexion and extension drills. So I'll turn sideways, and the first one I want you to think of, I'm going to have you turn your arms behind you, try to point your thumbs behind you, pull your shoulder blades as close together as possible, and make it believe like somebody had a string on your sternum and they were pulling it to the ceiling. Now again, I'm purposely not moving in my lumbar spine and trying not to move in my cervical so that I can get a good sense of the vertebrae that I'm moving from, which again I say are between here and approximately here. So I'm lifting my spine up, and you can picture all this kind of extending. And then the opposite, I'm flexing my spine. Again, I'm trying not to trick myself and push my butt backwards. I'm keeping some relative tension in my bum and abs so I don't move down here. But again, I'm flexing and rounding my upper spine and doing the opposite. Okay, the next one are going to be side bends or side flexion. And for this one, I just want you to have one hand and you're just going to reach down your leg, thinking of your spine again from here to here, trying to drape over and flex. And then I'll go the other way, reaching my hand down, trying to make my spine essentially banana over in each direction as much as possible.
Banana!
The next one is going to be rotation. We're going to try to rotate from here. This is a little bit tricky for people because they tend to move from their hips too much. So what I want you to do, think of someone holding your hips straight ahead at you, and you're trying to rotate as much as you can. On this one, it kind of feels like you're being wrung like a towel because you're kind of pulling your hips in the opposite direction that you're trying to rotate with your chest and spine. To make sure, it's just going to help you know that you're mostly only moving from your thoracic spine. Okay? Now the next ones are going to be the glides. So we're going to cover the side-to-side glide, okay? Now from here, this is another one's a little bit tricky for people, but think of your hips staying right where they are and your rib cage sliding off of your hips. So it's not a slide and a side bend. Everything stays level as it was, and I'm just gliding over. So again, you can see my hips are pretty much staying where they are, and you can picture my spine from here just gliding over. So those main ones I want you to cover again with the thoracic spine is this extension, or I'll show you from this side, this extension, flexion, side bending, the rotating, and then the side glides. And again, eventually, once you get good control of those, you can slowly combine them where you're, extending, side gliding, and flexing all at the same time to go in different directions, okay? But be very aware of it, because even when I did it just now, I didn't go as far in each direction as I could because I wasn't concentrating on it enough, where it would look a little more like this if I was actually concentrating on hitting the extent of the range on each one of those movements that I could. And again, a reminder to everybody why this is so important. If you think of like how buildings have been built, and in the past they would be built a little more rigid and the materials used a lot more rigid, so again, when forces are playing on this building and natural disasters are happening, the building is a lot more likely to break or have cracks and faults in the structure due to how stiff it is built. But now engineers build things with a lot more pliable materials that are going to allow the building to yield slightly with the forces of nature and then return back to their rigid positions where the structure is perfectly stacked. But again, it's not as risky for the structure when forces are played on it because it has that ability to move with the disaster, okay? And then it'll come back into its original position. So, you're as old as your spine, part 2. And don't forget, at Crown Performance, we put performance first. Peace!